When we think of how climate change impacts the Earth, we typically think of sea levels rising or the polar ice caps melting. However, climate change can also impact the severe weather on the planet. In this PSA, we'll go over why this happens. So, in order for weather to truly take its place on the Earth, humidity needs to be present. Humidity is that sticky feeling that you get when it's really hot outside and it feels really wet. That's because that's water vapor in the atmosphere. This water vapor enters the atmosphere because of the sun's rays hitting the ground and helping to evaporate this water. In turn, this evaporated water begins to condense in the atmosphere. And when this water begins to condense in the atmosphere, this is what we know as cloud cover. And as this water vapor continues to condense and it continues to get heavier, it begins to form precipitation, which we know as rain or snow or fog. So how does humidity impact climate change? Well, in order for there to be weather, there needs to be humidity. And this humidity and this weather can be impacted by climate change in two key ways that we know of. There are actually examples of this in the United States, the difference between a hot climate and a cold climate. So for the hot climate, you could look to places like California for a real-life example of this. So the sun's rays still hit the ground and it still heats it up and the water vapor still evaporates. However, because it's so hot and dry, the sun's rays just completely decimate the water vapor in the atmosphere. And because of this, everything dries up. And when everything is dry and there's no liquid for there to be humidity and for there to be rain, you'll have events like wildfires, and you'll also have events like heat waves, which are very common in California. On the other side, in a colder climate, you'll still have the sun's rays hitting the ground and evaporating the water, and this water will still condense into clouds because it's not as hot and as dry as it is in places like California. And for example, in Illinois, this is why we still receive snow in April, because it's cool enough for snow to happen, and because of the warming climate, there's a lot of opportunities for humidity to develop and for clouds to condense into snow, as you just saw. However, whenever the snow is done and the sun comes back out, this snow melts. And this is where climate change affects cold climates as well, because in these areas you'll see mass events such as flooding happen. So what about tornadoes or hurricanes, the ones that you constantly hear about in the media? Well, to be honest with you, there's not enough research on these events for there to be a definitive evidence for climate change impacting them. There are many factors that go into these severe weather events as well, like wind shear, inflow, outflow, and other such factors. It's not clear-cut. What do we know for fact though? We know that global temperatures have increased over time. We know that we've lost a lot of ice in areas like Greenland and Antarctica in recent years. And we know that the sea level has risen by a significant amount just in the last 2 decades. So weather is a very significant indicator as to how climate change is impacting the globe. Just because things like tornadoes and hurricanes aren't definitive doesn't mean that they aren't impacting us now. Droughts, heat waves, wildfires, floods, they're all indicators as to climate change and its impacts on the globe. So the next time you see snow in April, don't just write it off as climate change being a hoax. It may be climate change that's making it happen.